I think this is one of the things in life where we actually, I think there is lots of misunderstanding. Many people, and so was I when I was young, like thought, it's actually great if I can give the responsibility away. So also I can point my finger outwards always. I can say, yeah, he was responsible, so he is guilty of my situation, and because of that, this didn't happen, and blah, blah, blah. But as when we understand that when we turn the finger around and we point at us and take the responsibility on, life is not happening to me, but life is happening for me. And I think this is a very, very big difference to understand. So if you understand that we are responsible for our happiness and for our life and what happens, then we take on the chance to take our life in our hands and to live it to the extent we want to have it. How much magic do we want in our life? So it's our responsibility to take it on. And I'm absolutely agreeing that whatever happens around us is not because we are not pointing outwards, but we're pointing to ourselves. So we are responsible for that, what happens around us, I think.
Wonderful.
Wow, that's quite a leap in understanding. Thank you. Miriam.
Yes.
Yeah, I was during this situation, I did this online course with Thomas Hübel, who is a mystic, and he was pointing out the ability to responsibility. So I've been looking like that to my response to the situation, my ability to respond to that. And that brings a very different feeling than the responsibility that I learned from when I was younger, that is responsibility. And so, yeah, it was more like an internal journey for me and an investigation. And well, as I shared before, I was the first weeks, just reading everything and listening and very excited. And so then I tried to find my ability to respond to the whole situation, finding my way. And I'm still doing that. Yeah. So it's more, the term for me, responsibility, became much more softer than you are responsible. Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow,
exactly,
beautiful.
exactly. You
Absolutely.
nailed it.
You nailed it. Responsibility, exactly. And how does this new interpretation of the term change everything we know about it? Anna wanted to share as well. Anna from Belgrade.
Hi.
Hi.
Well, yes, interesting topic, and I have to talk about it from the really practical life way, because I bear more responsibility for years than I like to. I would love to, but I feel I have to do it because people's lives depend on it. My minor daughter and now also my very old father, their lives depend of if I will do this or will not do it, choose not to do some things. But doing that takes away my responsibility for myself and doing things for myself. So that balance is really not easy to find for me in this moment. I know somehow and feel that first of all, I'm responsible to myself to feel really great, to be able to give quality to others too, but somehow it's always been last 15 years more responsibility than I can easily handle, and then be really have all the time I need for myself as well, my new projects, my thoughts, my meditations. There's always some emergencies around every day. So I'm really anxious to hear how you put it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this is an interesting way to look at it, and this is actually how we look at it regularly. And let me just see. Responsible responsible for or responsible to. Exactly.
Yeah,
So
that is the difference.
the question, there are two parts that are commonly misunderstood. And this is, one is responsible as an obligation, and another one is an action that you can do or not. So responsibility only means that you are able to respond, responsibility. So instead of, just like Uwe said and like Miriam said, it's an ability to respond to any life situation, and your response might be to not to do anything about it. So there is an action part and there is the ability to respond. So your action is not unlimited. Your action could be limited, but your responsibility is unlimited, because your response can be anything that you want to do. And this is super important to make that distinction. What is the action and what is responsibility? What is ability to respond?
So interestingly enough, in most of the common languages, the word responsibility has something about responding, yeah, but the society has put it in a way that it feels like a heavy weight, that you're responsible because there needs to be an action engaged in responding.
And there is judgment.
Yeah, and judgment if you don't respond in the ways that were prescribed. So being responsible for your life, you know, when you said, okay, get real, do this, do that, be responsible, you have to take responsibility for your actions. So it was imprinted by pointing out the cause and effect. If you're not responsible for dressing on time, you'll be late for school and there'll be consequences. So we've been imprinted with this chain of there's an event, just an event, you have to be somewhere on time, as if it was important at all. But because you didn't respond to that event according to somebody's expectations, you were called irresponsible. That means you just didn't dress on time, so that it caused inconvenience for the parents or for the school. There were consequences. So every time that you chose to respond in your own way, you were called irresponsible, and that natural ability to respond was cut off, but before you even knew consciously what it is. So we've been conditioned in a one way responding to things, which is by committing to an action. And we don't know that we can also respond without the action. Sometimes we are not able to act, yet we can respond to it anyways. So this has been so deeply ingrained that responsibility has a weight, because if we don't show up with an action to what comes our way, we'll be judged or something bad will happen. So that's why, as Uwe said, in the early years, you tend to, okay, less responsibility is the better, yeah. But what happens when you disengage from responsibility? Actually,
what is freedom?
Yeah, you disengage from life if you disengage from any responsibility, because you stop responding to what comes your way.
So what happens? Something comes and says, I'm not responsible for that. You almost put it in a separate box and say, I don't want to know about it. I don't want to look at it. I'm not responsible for this person. This person is, I cannot do anything about it. So there is a lockdown, retreat, and actually shying out from life. Whereas when you have somebody, maybe somebody has an emergency, like medical emergency in the conference that you are on. I'm not responsible for this person. I don't want to know anything about it. I'm not a doctor. You're just like locking yourself out. If you understand that you are responsible to any situation in your life, including that the person is having a medical emergency in the conference room, you are the one who chooses how you're going to react. It doesn't, so all of a sudden you're not locked. You can come and help if you know how, or if you are in the appropriate, if you know how and you have the skills, or you can understand, well, I'm in no condition to help, so I will walk out, or I will just hold them, or I will just give them a hug, or I will call somebody. So there are millions of responses, yeah? But the freedom is in admitting that you can choose your response. That's that amazing freedom that comes from there.
So imagine if you detach the responsibility from need to act upon it. So, and they become two separate things. One is response to the situation, and the other becomes the action part. And if you know that at any given moment you can clearly dissociate response from the action, that gives you freedom to have both responsibility with action or responsibility without possibility of action. And as Miriam said, okay, I didn't cause pandemics per se, you know, I can't decide to open or close the borders myself. I have a limited possibility of action. But am I responsive to that? Yes, I am, because I'm included in it. Can I choose what I do, how I see things? Can I have my opinion? Can I have my discernment? Can I engage in with a locked world? Can I make the best out of it? Yes, I can. I can respond to any situation that comes my way without having the guilt that I caused it or that I didn't do something I could have done, and without necessarily taking any action where in a place where you just have no possibility. So detaching this overlay that has been imprinted in our natural ability to respond actually gives ultimate freedom, because then you can engage with everything. You know, we have been bullied into finishing our plates. At least I was bullied in my home by my family by finishing plates, because poor Africans have nothing to eat. So I was feeling guilty that I had to finish my plate because someone else somewhere else doesn't have what to put on the plate. And I was like really overeating because of thinking, oh my God, I am so lucky that I have food and I have no right to kind of push it away, even though I'm not hungry. So how is a responsibility coming in this situation? Am I responsible because of the government of Africa who didn't deal with their people, or not? And this is a big trick that happens to all of us who are highly sensitive and empathic. I felt highly responsive to poor kids in Africa who had no meals. I was highly responsive to poor cats and dogs who were abandoned or mistreated, and children and everything. And it just made I couldn't watch the news because I was responding actually naturally as a child, as a sensitive child, to everything that was going on in life. And where I almost, went into complete despair and blockages because I felt that I have to do something about it. I cannot just watch people starve to death, dogs and cats being, mistreated, abandoned, and beaten. I just couldn't watch, because in my system it was imprinted that if I see something, I must do something about it. If I see a war on a TV in a foreign country, I thought, because I saw and because I know that people are suffering, then it makes me feel super bad that I can do nothing about it. Where actually the freedom would be to, yes, I see that there's a lot of misery in the world, and yes, I understand that it exists, and I accept and I surrender to the fact that it is like that.
And I will see what I can now
and
do, and I want to do about it.
If there is anything I can do, then the next stage of responsibility comes, responsibility of a determined action. There is something I can do about kids in Africa, go and volunteer or something, then I take responsibility on acting upon it. There's nothing I can do in my present state about kids starving in Africa, so it doesn't mean that they don't exist, or I block them out, or I don't watch the news where it's presented. I respond to the situation, acknowledging that it is what it is, and without looking for who is guilty for the situation. But when I can't add my action to that responsibility, then I just allow it to be, and I trust that there are other people who will respond with an action there where I can't, because we all work as one. And I can act upon my reactions. I can act upon, what I can do within my scope of taking a little kitty out of of shelter and giving it a home. You know, that's a very little, but still something. And I acknowledge the scope of action that I can have and the one that I cannot. So if we stop resisting the actual horrors that are going on in the world and stop judging them as you know, as dismissing them, they shouldn't be there. They are, if they happen to be. And if we acknowledge and accept that it is what it is, however it came about, and whoever is responsible for causing them, and if our action on against it or helping that is limited, then we allow it to be, and we pray for, you know, other interferences happening that way.
The second point that comes together with this is the reality of this moment. And the big question that comes, and this includes the, you know, apparent horrors that are happening in some aspects of life and so forth. The question is this moment of now inevitable?
Mm-hmm. So that's the big Sadhguru's question. It was so eye-opening that this moment, just as it is, well, you might want it to be different, yet it will not be different. This moment is exactly as it is, and however you came to this moment, it is
result of past actions.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't avoid what is here. There's a lockdown. You can think that it could have been or could have not been or whatever, yet it is. And when we come to the point of acceptance of what is, yes, I am like this, yes, my bank account is like that, minus 0 or plus 0, but it is exactly, it cannot be more than that. As Byron Katie is saying, you only have as much money as you have right now.
So, yeah, the Byron Katie's question is, do you need more money? And obviously the people would say, yes, I need more money. But she says, are you absolutely true that in this moment of time, right now, in this particular moment, and every moment is different, we are asking about this moment right now. Do you need more money? Is this moment right now? And people would still say yes. Well, then she would say, okay, so how about, are you alive? Are you functioning? Are you here with us now? Are we sitting and having this conversation? So in this moment right now, do you need more money? The point is that in this moment, how it is, it's completely inevitable. And at this moment, you don't need any more money because
you have what you have.
You know,
right
we are comfortable, we are sitting, we are speaking, we are connecting. In the moments from now on, there's something we can do about it. But this moment right now, this moment, and this, and this, and this is how it is, and it's inevitable. And as much as we can accept, really even write it, this moment is inevitable, and deeply understand it, then we will stop fighting about this particular moment, and we will actually grasp that everything is possible from this moment, but it's not possible to change this moment right now. It's possible to change future moments. It's not possible to change past moments, nor this moment right now.
Thus, how much you are in peace with the fact of who you are in this moment, how much money you have, what is the state of the world in this moment, what you have or have not done, how much you're in peace with this exact moment is the measure of how happy you can be. Because happiness is nothing more and nothing less than that what you want happens to be now. So the moment where your wish matches the moment of now, you feel happy because you have exactly what you wanted. But you can also appreciate and want what you have. Yeah. Instead of having what you want, you can want what you have. A fully functioning body, a son, anything. So it's in your hands, and it's really, we have heard it over and over. And of course, like every teaching, every book, every speaker, everybody is saying the same thing. Moment of now, be happy with what you are, with who you are, etc. But you can't believe the difference that happens, the chemistry inside of the body that happens when you realize that this moment of now could not be in any different way. It is exactly what it is.
So it's like getting off a huge load off our shoulders for trying to change this moment, and actually focusing on how from now on I can act in the full alignment with my soul's purpose. But up to this moment, we just let go of that.
Yeah. So here comes our second ingredient of magical reality, which is surrender. So what is truly surrender? We have, again, preconceived ideas. Well, surrender didn't exist when we grew up. There was not much talk about surrender. It was doing, and following the rules and system and structure. Surrender has come in somewhat through the spirituality and by this subtle meaning that surrender means receiving, accepting, and allowing, somewhat allowing things to come your way and not resisting life.
It implies somewhat, well, that again, the misunderstanding of the term implies inactivity, passive acceptance of things. And this is actually what needs to change in understanding of this term.
Yeah, so it's very interesting. We're having computer right here. We're looking this on computer, and you see the keys. They have numbers and letters, and there are few keys that have words on them. And what I see: Command, Option, Shift, Return, and Delete. Yeah, so that's the commands on the computer. And it's funny that these are very precise actions. There's not a button surrender. There's a button of action. It, you know, because when you do something, you are actually actively engaged in life. Yeah, so surrender means not like okay, sun gazing for 5 minutes, it's okay. It's not sun gazing forever in the sun and just accepting that the world falls on your head. The surrender is ultimately accepting yourself as you are, accepting everybody as they are, accepting the world at the state as it is right now, and actively engaging it. Command, Option, Shift, Return, Delete, all of those in different order you can use to command your life from then on, while constantly accepting yourself as a result of your past commands or somebody else's commands. But you know, whoever told that you cannot return, you cannot shift, you cannot delete whatever? That is a responsible action. And when you hear responsible action, hear that response. You respond to the situation with an action, a determined action, which comes from a place of surrender.
So a good allegory actually to illustrate these concepts, responsibility and surrender, is actually the ocean. When we go to the beach, you guys who are in Bali, entering the ocean, an ocean can have these huge waves. So choosing to engage in life is actually as entering the ocean. We enter the ocean even though we know that it is going to be unpredictable. We have certain ideas what might happen, but it can be fully unpredictable depending on the waves, depending on the rain, depending on the wind. So if we have engaged in life, we have entered the ocean. So what is the surrender? So surrender is that you are not having your idea how you're going to be moving in this ocean. It is such
like
huger power than you
or...
that you will actually go up and down the waves. So you will surrender. It's not doesn't mean you're going to just lie down with your, you know, on your back and not do anything. You will still be swimming. You will still be engaging with the ocean, but you will surrender to its waves. Otherwise, you will be half of the time underwater and probably more time without air than with. The perfect situation is you will so fine-tune your response to those waves that you will have a surfing board And you will actually use these waves to propel you in the direction that you want to go. So this is fine-tuning your responsibility to actually go with the natural forces and elements. And then we are really propelled by the universe towards the goal that we have. So those are the different terms of the surrender. So surrender definitely didn't mean doing nothing. It meant doing it in harmony with the natural forces in which we are, life forces that we are part of.
Well, speaking of life forces, yeah, quite literally, life forces us to accept things that are greater beyond our control. And surrender usually comes as a little consequence when we have been so much fighting life that, you know, we come to the inevitable fact that yes, this is where my competence stop. This is where I can't do anything anymore. So forced surrender, when you're cornered and you have to just stop your life, it's not a good place to start. The actual surrender is when you understand that greater force, that is force of life, that works through you, and you stop resisting its flow through you, and you just combine that surrender to also the timing of the universe. You might want things to go faster. Well, they will not. They will go exactly as they go. And more you surrender to the flow, to the slowness of life, or to the moments of action, to the cycles of nature, to the inwards, outwards, to the planets, to everything that surrounds you, more you surrender to everything that is happening according to a much greater plan and rhythm, and then you add the response to the situation, you become truly the master of your life. So again, surfing, this is exactly the underlying principle of surfing. You surrender to the waves, you respond with precision to the wave that comes, and you use it to propel yourself in the best possible ways. So surrendering to the timing of the universe, to who you are right now, what you are doing, to fully engage and be present in every action that you might have, is actually shifting the perception of your life. You are getting out of your mind and into the actual life experience. So that's what it is designed for. When you surrender, you stop controlling. When you respond, you stop resisting. And then you suddenly feel tremendously alive. You feel that you are a part of the game, you're part of the world, you're part of existence itself. Because this is the only way you can go out of your frames and out of your, let's say, logic. When we say from logic to magic, you know, logic is a closed circuit thinking. Logic can only bring you to where you were already before. So you're turning around, and the same logic brings you to the same conclusion, to the same outcome. So you can't move forward with the logic because nothing in the universe works according to the logic. Those are very small laws of logic.
By the way, that's actually really important to also understand that there is no repetition in nature. That in nature, everything is new and every moment is completely different than any previous moments. If we just imagine that we are flying on this rotating huge ball that contains earthly life and spinning around the other huge ball of the sun that is burning and creating life and all that, and going through the universe at that huge speed, no other moment is the same as any other that have ever existed. So the only sameness that happens is our framing it in our mind and kind of understanding, oh, yet another day. But if you look around, you see that the leaves are different, the position of the sun is different, the temperature is different. It is never happened like this, and it will never happen. The humanity will never happen to have these members, these people that are your friends again, ever again, and in this state of consciousness. So it's completely new every moment. But what is not new is our mind frames. So that's that logic. And actually logic is, when we say logic, we mean the mind, almost like simulations, virtual reality that has been created around us, that we are part, being part of this particular society. And this society is telling us, well, you know what, magic is something that we kind of don't value highly. We value highly rational mind, and we value making decisions from the rational mind. And this is that industrial revolution sort of view that is started with René Descartes, who said, I think, therefore I am. That was like one of the most stupid things that could be ever said. I think, therefore I am. It is so limiting in so many ways. I am, therefore I am is something that is really true. So the equating our being with the machinery of just the visible vehicle that we have has caused a lot of technological progress and a lot of human misery. So the time now is to actually unlock, and this is actually locking the inner feminine, because inner feminine is the one that normally would surrender to life. It would act from its intuition. It trusts life, because there is no alternative. I mean, what are you going to do? You're pregnant, you are going to give birth.
Exactly. I'll give a funny example. Sorry, because we have a good friend, a guest here in guest house, whose wife is about to give birth, and he's so much in the mind, and he couldn't relax for a day, thinking that his wife might give birth and what he will do and how he will do and everything. And he gave a full speech of how and what and when he will do, and he had mapped it all out. I said, okay, you are not giving birth. Is she stressed? She said, no, she seems to be cool about it, but I am not. I said, well, there are moments that are unpredictable and inevitable, and how much you want to control. You will never be able to control the birth and the death. It will happen in how it will happen. And it was such a huge, mind jamming situation for him, that he cannot control how his baby is going to be born, when, and it gave him nightmares and anxieties. So really the women, and his wife is completely chill, but it will happen and it will happen, and it will happen somehow anyway.
So men have this luxury to be able to kind of not trust life and be in the mind. But like women are in position that you can't.
And he is asking me, so what do you think? Is it possible if I don't get there on time? Is it possible that the baby is born in the car, in the ambulance, in the elevator, somewhere on the way?
What would I do there? What would I do? Imagine this,
And if it's in the night, how is it if it's in the night? And can we not notice it?
Yeah, you wake up and the baby is just miraculously there. Nobody noticed. Oh, we forgot about it. We forgot to feed it.
So we had a good laugh, and how will we know if he's not feeling well? So
you will hear.
These are intense questions, and the life will really teach you and tell you exactly what to do at any given moment. So it was a sketch, it was a sketch, but it's so true, because women sort of surrender and understand that it's inevitable, because life somehow works through the women on a different level than men. And men have a little bit installed the dominance of logic, because they can't feel.
Not a little bit, a lot.
And so not to feel desperate because they can't feel the moment and what and how it's going to happen. They have installed the rules to stick to not go crazy, to have at least something structured and
well, honestly, it's also about a fear of unknown, because if the unknown comes, then I could just get out of my position or my wealth or whatever. So this is how the world was operating and will not operate anymore. So we might as well open up that magic of surrender and magic of being in flow with these natural processes and forces of life. And this is where we come to the perfect balance of masculine and feminine energies inside and outside, where we arrive to the place of magical reality. So magical reality doesn't mean that it's just magic and I can do whatever and I'm expecting miracles.
Or
and
you're flying with the unicorns.
None of that.
Or it's pink and non-related. That's a delusion. Yeah. So we're not in any ways associating magic with delusion or irresponsibility or anything that would take you out of life, out of what is really happening. No way at all. But the magical realism is when you're really here and now, but with open mind. With open mind and receptive heart, allowing the life to come exactly as it is, having responsibilities, well, those responsibilities for the daughter, for the father, accepting that they might also have their journeys going on, having, job or no job, and accepting that there's a reason for that, taking responsibility for changing the situation that you don't like.
And one more aspect, and structure.
And structure.
So actually magical realism is allowing magic to come with having a structure through which to make it happen, and with open mind that it can create even more amazing opportunities that you have ever thought. So structure is needed. This is the part that we bring from the masculine part, but not overpowering structure that kills all magic. It is there to make practical matters work. But on the other side, feminine side of everything is possible is there, an open mind that we say, well, universe, surprise me, bring me something even much greater than I would ever expect. So
so
those are the
way that masculine and feminine is creating magical reality. By masculine side bringing structure, and the feminine side bringing that openness and connectedness to life. It's like if you have to build a house, well, the man would choose something where the land is flat, whatever you see around. It will turn it wherever it's facing. Maybe to the south there will be no windows. You can see in Bali a lot.
As long as they like their drawing,
Very strange, orientation of houses, no windows of a whole wall. So it's you wonder like who even thought about it, So the man would choose from practical point of view, easy car access or something. The woman would like, but I need a garden. I want to see the sun. I want a balcony. I want a terrace. I want that. So together they can create a beautiful home. Yeah, not too close to the road and not too far from this. Access is not that important. So the woman would bring the connectedness to the situation. And the man would make sure that the whole thing actually stands on a firm ground, and make sure that the roof doesn't leak. That's our inner parts. And of course, a successful couple, this is how they would build for real.
Just give an example of the window that really looked beautiful on the drawings, but by the way, it didn't allow the beautiful look on the river through it. So it needed to be lowered down in order that you actually can see through that beautiful window some beautiful view as well. So it's actually putting oneself in the situation, what is really going to happen in nature with this drawing. It's not just sitting with a beautiful drawing.
Yeah, so that is what creates a magical reality. Man by himself, he'll make like architects love to do something square, something big, something very empty and usually cold feeling. But the woman would come in with the pillows, curtains, little, animations, and create the atmosphere. And both have to be there. Woman by herself, she will not have enough courage maybe to do it all on her shoulders. She will bring what she can bring as far as she can bring. The man by himself, he will lack that warmth and inhabiting the space.
And we're talking about inner masculine and inner feminine.
Yeah.
It's not literally speaking about man and a woman, yeah?
Yeah. When they are balanced inside, the balanced person can successfully create both at the same time. A balanced couple can create that in outer reality, and it looks and it feels that way. So when we speak about magical realism, is if you only have magic and only have open mind, you know, what is the prerequisite for the magic, you'll be really tripping, you'll be delusional, because you will imagine all those beautiful things that you could do, but you will never do them.
There will never
They'll
be an
just
action.
flow through you as an eternal stream of ideas and beautiful concepts of how it could be, but because there's no structure that magic could animate, it will never go forward. So I would say it's good to have any kind of activity or any kind of expression in life, whatever it might be, so that through that structure we can invite magic. Even a boring job can be somehow turned into magical event. But if there's only structure, well, it will be static. It will not be evolving with the life.
It's really important to have a practical application for any magical components that we receive in life. And actually, Anna and I had an interesting conversation yesterday. She's producing her beautiful paintings now, and these are the paintings that work with the frequencies together and all that. So the idea was, well, like, what now? So the point when we are creating something, well, first creating something that doesn't already exist. This is part of magical realism, bringing into the world something that had never existed. It is reaching the point when we are closing all the books from which we have learned, and we say, okay, from now on, enough books, enough reading what other people have done. From now on, I am actually connecting to my own channel and creating something that had never existed in life, and I'm walking this path where I fully surrender and engage in life to bring something absolutely new and magical. So from that point, the universe responds and says, okay, well, I will support you in this if you're honest and willing to follow up. And following up means really doing something with these new technologies, ideas, magical formulas that are coming through the channeling, and including that even if you get something today, something new, something like the way how these paintings are going to operate, you do something concrete with them now, exactly when you have received the recipe. And receiving those recipes is really calling in and connecting with your inner aspects. We can call them your inner guides, or your inner spiritual guides, yeah, who will literally bring the new technology through your meditation and say, okay, well, this is how it's done. And doing something concrete means, okay, today I have received new recipe. I don't wait till next week to do something with it. I'm doing concrete step right now when I have received it to confirm that this engagement with the higher intelligence is actually happening. Then the guides will continue to bring down and give more ideas and more details, and really zooming into the details. It's not just, okay, what is, I'm going to make some paintings and they're going to act in some way. Now we zoom in and say, so what do we do? What is the exact technology? Show me how to fine-tune this. So then we zoom in and start actually getting more and more details until we really get something that has a very concrete result. So that's adding structure to the magic, yeah?
So the important part of magical realism is this combination of surrender and realism. So you surrender to, you know, maybe a new calling that comes to you. You just dream it up, or you feel called. You surrender to the change when it feels natural. You surrender to the cycles of life, that you might need to move places, or something is coming to the end, something new is peeking in. So you surrender to inevitable change, because everything in life changes, and you take responsibility for acting on inspiration. So this kind of responsibility is also responding to inspiration. Inspiration is a very precious, it's like nectar of gods, you know, because it comes from this volatile and very sensitive channel where you get inspiration to paint, or inspiration to sing, inspiration to move on, inspiration to change countries, change partners, anything. You get inspiration, and if you don't respond to that inspiration, well, you will have to wait for a long time before another one comes. So that's why if there's one thing to be responsible for, it's not for other people, it's for your own drive of inspiration. And this is for you, Anna. This is where your responsibility for self is actually understanding that no responsibility for other can be greater than responsibility for your intuition and what comes through you. That will arrange the other field where you're responsible for physical people. So responding to your drives will actually bring that magical realism into action, where things will shift in a ways that you could never imagine. And all those heavy responsibilities will suddenly be shifted around in completely unexpected ways to support your response to your inspiration. Yeah. So it's a little bit of mind entanglement.
Sounds great. So yeah, makes sense. It
But
makes sense.
responding and taking action for our inspiration and translating into a concrete steps through the structure that we have in place will start the magical realism, where everything becomes alive in your daily business, whatever it might be. So that is how energy flows in the universe. And surrender is just not moving out of your own way. That's what the surrender ultimately is, moving out of your own way. So by that, so many concepts click into place. The masculine and feminine, they work with each other instead of working against each other. So one side of you will bring the structure, the other side will bring inspiration and intuition, and both will move you forward in the way that is the most appropriate for yourself.
Yeah.
Well, now that we have buried you under the torrent of words, maybe you have questions.
Yeah. So maybe how is this reflecting for in your reality, and do you trust life, and in which cases you trust life, and in which cases you still think maybe that you need to control some of it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the whole magical realism is based on one simple concept of trusting life, because life knows better. And we have had surprises, you know, from how we thought it should be and how it is. And when we become co-creators with life, it's absolutely amazing what can be achieved.
Well, if we completely trust life and engage with it, and engage with our completely crazy idea what we want to do, because it was never done this way in the world before, this is the seed of amazing good luck, so to speak, or surprisingly beautiful reaction of the universe that brings back and co-creates with us, because this is then complete harmony between the two. The guides are saying, okay, these people are serious, they're really following up and wanting to do something, and we have had tremendous miraculous connections, miraculous people that came into our life who started working with us, and amazing ideas. I mean, just amazingly joyful existence.
Yeah, impossible to create or figure out beforehand. So
absolutely.
When you witness miracles that you have created by your determined action, you will be in awe and completely understand that, okay, what have I been resisting this whole time? But sometimes the inspiration could also be just letting the situation pass, sitting through. Inspiration is not always and only calling for action or creating something. It can be to dismantle something. It could be to just stay still for a moment, just go deeper within. That also is an inspiration to be followed up, because those who don't, we have, most of our clients haven't listened to that inspiration, quiet voice of inspiration, and find themselves in the impossible depths of the woods and can't find a way out because of not listening to that little inspiration of taking a time off, because of the logic that says I have to keep the roof over my head. And that is a big trap that we can't readily move out of.
Exactly. This is what you reminded me to, is there is it's very important to discern the difference between the voice of inspiration and the voice of personal preferences, because those personal preferences are actually a trap. Personal preferences come often from attachments to this I like, this I don't like, and like attachments that have been rooted deep into avoiding some parts that have hurt us who knows when in life. And it's super important to know which one is my preference speaking versus what is my divine voice speaking. And you will know one speaks from the place of fear at the bottom of the bottom. This is our personal preferences are all speaking to the place of fear, because our most elevated state is the state where everything is magical. Everything around us is absolutely magical. We live in the magical world. I mean, just looking at the planets and all this,
Well, look at the flowers. I got a new little lens to clip on the phone, and I'm like going through the garden and zooming into every single flower. I'm saying, this is the whole universe inside, and it's just there. And the colors and the shades, and I mean the light coming through, and the perfection of those little things inside with the pollen. I mean, how? So it all exists, and as the beauty is in the eye of beholder. Yeah, it is really true. It is how deeply you zoom into life to see its beauty. I was moved to tears this morning. There's a beautiful sun just coming out through the trees, and I'm going to pick raspberries for our morning smoothie. I mean, how cool is that? And how cool is that? And I think like, oh, they're so beautiful. They're so detailed. What gives them this amazing taste? And they have all just gathered here for me to pick up and put in my smoothie, and so I melted in gratitude for those raspberries. And I said, wow, but it's like this with everything. It's not even once per year. In the winter you can find the beauty of the fresh snow. Anything, if you just zoom in the life, zoom into people's hearts, zoom into people's eyes, zoom into who they are really behind the wounds and misalignments. Zoom into yourself. I've told you already, zoom into your hand. I mean, man, have you checked your hands? Like, how is this moving? No computer can reproduce this complicated multi-directional movement of a hand. It took them 30 years to come up with a robotic hand who can only do like this or like this. But that, yeah. So that's a zoom in. That's a zoom in into the life.
So when we talk about preferences, this is like either everything is sacred. Everything, literally everything that we look at, because it takes, like Evia says, zooming into the flower is going to take us a lifetime, and we're not going to understand what's going on there fully. Or everything is nonsense. So either everything is sacred or everything is nonsense. Everything is nonsense is also like a philosophical way to look at the things. And if everything is not nonsense, nothing makes any sense, and that's a valid way to look at things. Depending on your inner preference, you will choose one or the other. But what's problematic is what I like is sacred and what I don't like is nonsense. That is the cause of suffering, and these are the personal preferences. What I don't like, it's nonsense.
Yeah, Sadhguru says, okay, the best way is everything is sacred or everything is nonsense, but don't do this. This is sacred and this is not, because that will destroy you.
Yeah.
At the long term, it will destroy you. So choose the way you want to look at life, one or the other. But if your ability to respond is limited when you categorize, like this one person I love, those not really, those I don't know how to engage with. So when we limit our responsibility to life, we limit the life responding to us as well, and we become, you know, a little bit conserves. Yeah, sitting in the can with a lid on it and just conserving ourselves in that one state that we prefer to be in. Yeah, so if we don't want to be conserves, we can move through the life. And so why we're sharing this with a little bit of a passion, because it was somewhat, you know, there's one moment that it just clicks when you understand that avoiding things is not a solution, suffering from them neither, but responsibly surfing through whatever comes your way, that is creating something. That is creating a flow where you are one with life, just as it goes and comes, including everything and following the cycles. Lisa, determining inspiration, what? It's a little bit unclear. What is versus whim?
Inspiration, breathing, taking in, yet acting for personal preference is almost expiration.
Ah, versus whim. How do you know if it's inspiration or a whim? Well, a whim, it's a compulsive action. When you act on your whims, you are compelled to action. It's almost like there's this burning agitation within that.
I have to do this. Okay, sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
So when you act on the whim, there's this agitated energy that is pushing you to do something, and it's not a bad thing, you know. It will also lead you somewhere. Acting on whims lead you to some ways, but are not usually the solution to whatever was the cause of agitation. And if you act from inspiration, it has a much more quiet feeling to it. It's almost delicious. You know, when you feel inspired, you're like, ah, I want to do it because it feels very alive, and it's a mix of excitement and wanting to do it in priority and acting upon it. It's not an urge. It's something that calls you to action, like maybe, you know, Anna, if you want to paint, or Anna, if you want to sing. It's a call. It's a gentle and bubbling, inspiring call for action. It's not this dreadful kind of push because you are overboiling inside. So that's the difference, in my opinion, between both.
And then Anna is asking, how can I magically deal with tons of garbage everywhere around me? You probably are asking about the negative energy, yeah, of people around you. Is that what you mean?
Or the literal.
This time I meant real garbage, because it's really, really dirty in Belgrade at this moment. You know, wherever you look, there's in the river garbage, in front garbage. You know, I meant now real garbage, but also that negativity too. But now I meant really garbage. You know, I'm looking at the beautiful flower, sun, tree, and there underneath there's, you know, tons of everything that is not cleaned. I mean, what to do with that? You know, I'm driving my bicycle by the river, you know, smiling sun, and then look to the river and oh my God, you know,
Well, yeah, that's a good
total
question.
garbage, real, literally.
Yeah, it's a good question, and it is coming, well, to look at it as part of reflective reality and to understand why that garbage is there and what is that reminding you. It's reminding you, we know personally what part of your journey is, and part of your journey is eventually to get out of cities. So you kept being reminded to, you know, connect to that inner guidance that you have is to live somewhere close to the sea. This has happened for many, many years. So it is going to become more and more unbearable until you actually find a way. But we also know that there is some old forces that are pulling you to kind of stay there. And so you are in this situation that you're pulled both ways until it is fully understood what to do and how to act. So one of the ways is to understand the higher context. Higher context is, okay, thank you for reminding me. I know I have to eventually be somewhere close to the sea, and I accept this. I have already made decisions. I'm already part of the process. And if this is going to be your gratitude for actually being shown this reminder again, then you won't probably look at that garbage as garbage. As you will look at it as a sign that is reminding you of your journey, and then focus your attention other 359 degrees, well, all other degrees of the angle, looking towards something that is not that garbage, but looking towards the trees and greens, and say, okay, thank you for a reminder. I got it, and I'm doing something about it. Or if you're not doing something about it, actually going back to doing something about proceeding with your journey.
Well, we can look at it from the perspective of responsibility. Yeah, if you are walking on the street, and Bali guys, you can totally relate. Yeah, to amazing flowers, beautiful people, ceremonies, and
Plastic.
Yeah, and it was driving me crazy for years, you know. And I took reaction however I could, but it's just I it couldn't enter my head that this is possible. Yeah. So if we take responsibility in this case, so we actually have to, as much as, you know, we wouldn't like to, we have to respond to the situation as it is. Yes, there's a garbage in Belgrade. Yes, there is a plastic in Bali everywhere. Yes, people are unconscious. Yes, people are throwing it in the earth. Yes, turtles are dying. Yes, this is all happening. How can I respond to that? Can I do something about it? Well, I can do something with my garbage. I can do something with helping raising awareness. So how can I act upon the garbage problem if that's my despair? To the extent, you know, I've been educating my staff for years, and as soon as I turn my back, they're back to non-composting and throwing it all somewhere, including in my own garden. So, well, I came into terms with that little game of that they do it not because they understand, but because of me. But yet, still, it was my action, so I saved some plastic of being dumped in the garden. So, however limited is your action, but you can have one.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't have any action on public garbage in Belgrade, well, you have to change the way you look at it. You look at it as a sign of some people's level of consciousness. It is what it is. There are people who throw it on the floor. That's where they're at. It's not personal. It shouldn't hurt your eye. If you're looking to the world through the lens of magical reality, you understand that more you raise your consciousness, more somehow in little ways other people will wake up, more it will go up to some levels who are able to take decisions, and eventually something will change to take the rubbish away. For now, it's a symbol of half of the population being in totally unconscious, sleepy mode, and it is what it is. Rather than acting on the garbage, we should act in elevating people's consciousness. If you're a conscious being, you can't throw a plastic. Your hand doesn't lift to throw anything in nature. You know, so it's not about forcing people about recycling. It's about connecting them to the nature. Once they are connected to nature and they feel everything alive, they will not be able to throw anything in the nature. And kids nowadays are very good at it because they're much more sensitive to the nature, and they feel bad for the turtles who eat plastic. They feel bad for the fishes. So they are the ones that will educate the parents to do something about it. So it's not a short-term solution, but the short-term solution would be the way adjust your look to that and include the garbage as a part of life. As well as what we started this conversation with, include all your body parts as equal. They're not like unwanted parts of your body. It's all part of the same thing. So we just include to the measure that we comfortably can.
Yeah, and these days I also find it easy to see or to speak to people, because walking the rice fields, and well, at least in Bali, I see that the waters are much cleaner. So as soon as I approach Balinese people, I say, wow, good, the water is clean, and look, no garbage. And so they say, yeah. So yeah, in a way, I hope they really start to see that and to appreciate it as well. And you see the little kids, swimming in the little waterways. And so yeah, that's my way of trying it. Instead of seeing still the plastic, as soon as I see a nice spot, I mention that to people. I say, look at this, and look at the birds, and, clean sky. So yeah, what you say about, raising awareness and consciousness, and yeah, that's my way of trying it when I meet Balinese people on the path, in the fields. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Beautiful. Lisa says, leading by example and picking up one piece of garbage every time you are outside. Yeah, this is also doing something about it. Exactly.
Yeah.
And Eve says, my family had a wonderful time collecting rubbish at the woodlands the other day. The kids enjoyed it so much. Well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, leading by example is eventually what this whole talk is about. So if you understand the mechanism of magical reality, and you start embodying and just living it and not postponing it to when the world will become magical. I love, really, Sadhguru puts it so simple. He says, okay, so if you want a world to be a loving place, so are you waiting for everyone else to be loving first, to become loving, and then you will also become loving? Or you want to be the
do you want to be the first or the last?
The last one to join the party. So eventually it does start with us. Yeah. So if you give it a chance to live really in harmony with these very simple principles, well, you'll be the starter of the movement. We will post in a Facebook group that little video, how to start a movement. It's very funny, but very true. So leading by example, picking up trash, whatever feels good to you. You don't have to out of obligation. You can if you feel that this is truly what you want to do. But leading a magical life, just living it, will inspire so many more people that you can imagine, and will be worth of 1,000 hours of preaching.
Because actually, when preaching works is when somebody is so inspired by what you're doing, is that they come and ask you, how can I be like this? What can I do to get there? That is it's so much more powerful than actually sitting and preaching, because you are leading them by example, not by the something that you can say in the words.
I have a question, if I can ask.
Yes.
Yes.
Like I have this amazing experiences of magic in my life, and then I have areas where I kind of like collected so many negative experiences over my life that even though like logically I know everything is possible, I kind of notice how I limit myself in these areas, like how I cannot open myself to these possibilities because of these like fears. Oh my God, I'm just repeating, the same thing over and over, and it kind of reinforces, you know what I mean? So I kind of like go this very limited path in some areas. How do I go around it? Like, how do I have tried so many things and nothing really fully worked.
Yes. So, it's about this engagement with life. There are areas which didn't work out, and the result is always the same that we don't want. So we become afraid to engage in that. If we had like 3 unsuccessful, but partnerships that ended in some hurtful ways, emotionally hurtful, and we haven't really accepted as it was our responsibility the way it went, we say, okay, he was not quite good enough, or he hurt me or something. So in that way, your body and system is trained to experience, okay, new partner will end up like this, so I better stay by myself and not even try. It's safer. Yeah. So it's only if you could only get back to your mindset of when you're 18 and you don't know that you can be hurt, then you could have that fresh look. You cannot unlive what you have lived already, but at any given moment, you can shift the way you perceive it. And you say, okay, I take responsibility for these situations happening in my life.
And understanding first why.
Yeah, and I take responsibility to understanding why. I will take the first step. And you signed up for the course, you will see there are many answers in that. How do you bring what you want in your reality? By seeing where you're blocking yourself, where you are standing in your own way and not allowing, not surrendering, and not responding to what comes your way. Yeah. So, and this goes for every area. In some areas you were not hurt, so it's just working. And in some areas where this experience has been accumulated, you need to see in what ways you are actually sabotaging that, happiness that is always possible.
Yeah. So some of those sabotaging, you will see, came from the place that you needed to learn something and shift something in you. Other parts could be that it is something that you have brought in by, from the ancestry and so forth, your history line. But once that these lessons are understood, and once that the lessons you say, okay, good, I had enough of these lessons, now I understand them, and you shift them around, then these experiences you will understand why you had them, and then you have a place from where to release them because they're no longer necessary. Now something new can happen, and all that's needed is to kind of not allow the memories of the old experiences to be in a way. So you will see there are these few parts of the process where we can then completely release them and open to the infinite possibilities.
And understanding that you are ultimately the creator of your happiness, everybody knows that, but it's very difficult to believe and feel it. But when you understand that happiness and alignment starts within you, just by the way you look at the world, yeah, the magical or distrusting. If you really manage to just shift that one thing and have a magical look at everything is just experience, is not personal, nothing is personal, you will already attract different kind of people. Yeah, because you will not expect them to fulfill, you will not expect them to be good, you will not expect that then you will, tick the box of it being successful. You'll just experience a person. When I said about zooming in, it's fascinating to zoom in, really try it. take a person you don't like, really, like you wouldn't want to be around, but it's fascinating. Zoom in, see what's inside, what makes them so unpleasant, what makes them so difficult to be around. Zoom in their hearts. Have they been born like that? I find it completely fascinating. I take those people that everybody hates, take Trump, and see, like, is it really what we think he is, or there's something more inside? Like, how? And examine really with a magnifying glass all aspects of a person that you don't like, and you'll understand it's not as black and white as we like quickly think. So this is also when we're afraid of a bad experience through the partnership, we're actually afraid to look into ourselves, where we are telling some lies to ourselves, because the other person is just reminding about that. They're not again, I will quote Sadhguru because I just love those examples. He said people who poke you are actually very necessary people, because they are quality controllers. When you think that you're pure love and light, okay, get to your controllers, quality controllers. They'll poke you and we'll see.
Are you reacting with love, or are you reacting with triggering?
Are you responding in the peace and love that you claim you are, or you're responding in the good old ways with resentment and anger? Yeah. So really understand that integrity in how you look at life. There has to be something very monolithic in the way you choose to look at life, and that will go for every area of your expression. And let's say in your case, if I presume that it's relationships, I know nothing about it, but if you just imagine that the world is magical and whoever comes your way is there to quality control your own integrity with yourself in that question, then you will really take it far less personally, be grateful for those challenges, and then eventually fix them. It's not very difficult to fix, it's just a shifting out of it, and it will bring you to more and more, increasingly more magical partners, I would say.
Thank you.
So now that we have completely entangled your brains, do you still have any questions, or you have to rebuild a little bit the world?
If not
Good,
questions, that means everything is clear and ready for ultimate expressions in everything is possible universe. Beautiful.
Yeah. So, this all comes together with our previous session about the sun. Because if you're looking for the ultimate teacher, it will be yourself. You're your ultimate guru. So, for example, we are just reflection of what questions are humming inside of your being, and we're just saying them out loud. If you're even hearing this, that means that these are questions to be asked for you right now at this very moment. There's something in it. There's something in you that is ready to shift into that new kind of responding to life. And interacting with sun will give you some reliable source of energy and connection.
Also, what comes through your souls is that there is something new and bigger that you are ready to be creating.
Yeah.
That actually involves you trusting life even more and trusting that quiet inner voice that you will now surrender more in this coming period and actually allow yourself to create from that. So, and allow yourself to be very original in creating something that has not existed yet before. So this is coming true.
So Lisa, question.
Oh, yes. There's like lots of questions because we have like responsibility. And like you said earlier, for the empath, like you're saying, you know, that you cared about all of the kitties and so to care for things without carrying the responsibility or carrying the accountability, but then responsibility and attachment as well. You know, these gurus who talk about non-attachment, and I just find it very, very difficult to put myself in the position of non-attachment when I see like being responsible for a little kitty. By virtue of being responsible for that other life, like taking on the responsibility of being a caregiver or a mother being a caregiver, then juxtaposing that with the idea of non-attachment to everything. So I really struggle with that, you know. I don't know if it's just playing around with words, but I just can't agree. I understand non-attachment at death.
Yeah. Yeah,
but,
Lisa, great. I feel
amazing
your
question.
question.
Yes.
I feel what you mean. You feel
Yeah.
like how to, but yeah, no, I completely agree with you. We wouldn't call it attachment. That attachment that they're trying to tell you not to have is actually they're trying to tell you don't live. I mean, attachment is a intense feeling. We misunderstand it with kind of wanting to fix or wanting to possess. But if you just take it a step lower, the attachment is actually engagement with life.
Connection.
Yes, it's connection. It's attachment.
Yes.
It's interacting. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. It becomes nasty when we want to control or to change, because it's not.
So when we're attached to an outcome as opposed to being connected.
So
exactly.
that's another misunderstood word.
Yeah.
Exactly. Non-attachment to outcome means I have done everything I could and I trust the universe to kind of bring me to the best possible outcome. So I'm not controlling God.
I'm not micromanaging God, saying how, in my opinion, the situation should go, how people should respond to animals, in my opinion, yeah. But attachment is driving your full involvement with life.
Joy and passion of doing this comes from.
I would actually change the word attachment to involvement.
So non-attachment, actually, we have to detach it from caring. You're caring about the issue, but being non-attached is kind of trying to say that you are not caring. It's not that. You are caring, but you are just non-attached to the actual steps, how you will be engaged in your swimming through that ocean of working with this issue. So you will allow the universe to bring deeper wisdom in your engagement in this particular issue, and trust that it will be better than what you could have imagined.
Yeah. I'll give you a very simple example. In my life, cats somehow have very powerful messages. And well, you remember I had a case of a little kitty that we took from the shelter that was already having a virus, and he was ill and dying, and so it made that dying little kitty, poor thing. We cared for him till the end, till how we could, yeah. And it taught us exactly this question of attachment, of responsibility, and of involvement. When you have this decision, like, do you want to just kind of give it back to the veterinary to put him to sleep? Is it responsible to take to care till the end? So in this little situation, actually that attachment to outcome that he must live turned into I will be involved in his life until I can, you know. And that is a huge difference, that in instead of trying to determine what should happen to that little living being, I just become involved in doing the best that I can at that very moment. And we had, you know, we beautifully did all we could, and the whole experience actually changed the flavor, you know, including that made a little revolution in Sunset Vet little collective, because they actually haven't thought of that perspective. They suggested, for example, if they say that the cat has a incurable virus, they don't have any cure for that, so they say, okay, you know that it's gonna die, so better let him die right now.
But better for whom, you
Yeah,
see?
but better for whom? Whose discernment is that I decide upon the life of the cat when it's better for him to die. So we trusted life and we trusted the process, and everything went just as it should be, you know. So involvement versus attachment to
Well, that
save.
brings another huge topic of trusting life, and this is also the fear of death and dying. So this is the ultimate denial. Yeah, the ultimate denial of our civilization is that the moment of death will come and it will spoil your plans. I bet everybody will have some other plans than that, and this is one of the big lessons. And that's another bringer of huge freedom, is to accept that the death is coming and it is part of the life, and it brings more joy and appreciation of every moment of life, this realization. And just like giving birth, well, it will come, and then, you know, we will live through it, like how the meditators say, well, we will meditate, we will look at okay, so this is a sensation, come, the sensation is coming, the sensation is going, and observing sensations, and then going through that experience like every other experience with detachment of the outcome. What do we know? You know, what's happening after that could be super much more magical than something that happened before. How do we know? Why are we assuming that something unpleasant is happening? It's only not knowing. So you see how that determined even what the vet thinks about the cat and all that.
So this was all to say, trust life, live fully, live now, and take these words out of their cliche meaning, yeah, and really make them your own. Contemplate what a miracle life is. We spend the whole day trying to not die, avoiding certain foods, avoiding getting hurt, drive slowly, don't do crazy things. So we invest our lives in maintaining us alive. Then why wouldn't we spend 5 minutes per day being grateful that we are actually alive? Yeah.
We woke up this morning. How magical is that?
Imagine, we can get out of the bed. So many people can't. So in a measure that you will appreciate that life for which you are working every day, to that extent, you will feel fully, you know, ready to bite life full chunks, you know. It's amazing when this experience actually settles in your heart, and you feel it. It's beautiful to tears to realize how far we have gotten ourselves without, you know, any major issues, or we have maintained ourselves in life, and we can even talk and give and spread and act upon this world. Yeah, gratitude is amazing. And by the way, in our course, we will speak about that. The gratitude is a frequency of a creator. You cannot
literally you cannot execute
yeah,
anything practical without this frequency of gratitude.
because gratitude means you realize that you are alive right here, right now. You cannot be grateful in the past. You can only be grateful now. And that opening of the heart that happens to the gratitude in the moment of now is actually the creator frequency. So more you practice it, that's why it's associated to manifestation and all sort of wish fulfilling exercises, because the heart opening in the moment of now, bowing down to the life that's happening through you, is the frequency where you create your life. So
there
practice.
you go. Let's do it.
Yes, Lisa.
So, I find that with gratitude, I almost feel that it's like an emotion that it's like I don't even know that I have anchored to an emotion that is gratitude. I feel, is this vacuous gratitude that I experience, like that we say, I've got gratitude for every moment and I'm so, gratitude for my meal. And it's like, well, am I actually coming from a place of gratitude, or am I just saying these words? It's out of all of it, gratitude is the thing that I struggle with the most, because it's like, I don't even know, is this what gratitude feels like? Because for me, the sense of gratitude is almost like, I have sensed gratitude almost like relief. Like, oh,
God, yeah.
you helped me do that. It's like, oh, thank you so much. And is that gratitude or is that relief? So I struggle with the gratitude. It's like, oh, well, I don't know. I don't know if I struggle with it all.
Yeah, that is a relief. The one you described is a relief, because it went your way. The situation went your way.
And you trust that it would, and now it happened, and you're like, oh, okay, I'm happy that it did. Gratitude is a little different.
Okay, I'll show you.
Totally.
So Lisa, when you have relief, it's like, oh, thank you. And when it's gratitude, it's thank you.
It's like,
it's like amazing.
It's my heart is melting.
It's when you realize the magnificence of the situation. That's the gratitude. When you realize that what happened to you was the best possible thing out of any other possibilities that could have happened.
And like so more than you have ever could expect. And there is this, that the real eyes are actually in the heart. They're not even here. They're in the heart. And it feels like the shower of grace that is coming, and like I couldn't have even imagined that this is going to be this way, or that it was going to feel that way. It actually, what happens is tears usually.
Yeah, gratitude is when you some sort of zoom out. For example, gratitude for the meal, when you just say, yeah, I'm grateful for what's on my plate. But then when you zoom out and you imagine all the people that were involved in bringing it to the table, how it all grew, how long it took, like in a global context of everything. You're having here your beautiful little salad with fresh leaves, the plants that were just alive moments ago. And when you realize that interconnectedness of life, that is gratitude. When you're connected to everything that is happening.
That you are this plant who actually decided to give you part of it to actually enhance your energy. So and you feel
humans don't feel, they don't have a sense of gratitude. There's nothing, it's like with things that happen, it's acceptance. Like this is how, because I'm not getting in the way of myself as a plant or as an animal, they don't get in the way of themselves. So they don't have a sense of needing to step over into, like you're saying, that complete connectedness. So for me, fundamentally, gratitude is just that deepest sense of freaking happiness. You know, the little cows that are like bouncing through the field. It's like, whoa!
Yes, exactly.
Totally engaging with life rather than a solemn bear down in prayer for the lettuce leaf. It's like you saying, stepping back and going, oh my God, this is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because animals don't have there's no such thing as gratitude, because it is a gift.
Yeah, gratitude only comes when you realize that you're not your mind, you're not what you think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you would
Yeah.
be living in a permanent state of gratitude. The gurus live in permanent
Exactly.
state of gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
But you remember the gratitude comes when you drop from the heart from the head into the heart, and you realize the amazingness of everything. You know?
Yeah. Mm.
And actually, what's interesting is to just then feel that, imagine we can be in that state all the time.
Mm.
So once that we get to that frequency, we can completely stay in that state. But for now, it's temporary.
Mm-hmm.
So
Feel
even then, like the word thankfulness, you're going beyond thankfulness, because thankfulness again is almost like relief. I'm so thankful for that. Gratitude goes way beyond that.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
And we're being taught to practice gratitude 5 minutes a day, or write kind of 20 things that you are grateful for. But it's not quite that. We can even mentally simulate the gratitude. But what we're talking about is this aching feeling of being so freaking amazed by life, yeah, that you wouldn't want to be anything else, anywhere else, at any other moment in time. That's the real gratitude feeling.
So that makes sense, because the gratitude that you're talking of, the new age gratitude is bullshit. Sorry, new age gratitude. You know, the namaste gratitude is bullshit. You are talking about the embodiment of gratitude rather than a vacuous praying to a lettuce leaf.
We are talking about, you see, every of these words is just a word, but it points to the very complex inner state. And what gratitude is that inner state combined with inner chemistry, and it all points toward oneness.
Mm-hmm.
And we have this gratitude temporarily until we are really one. And at that point, like Evia says, is we feel it all the time, because you're just acting as the drop of the ocean, like you are in complete oneness with everything else. There are no questions.
And like you say, bursting into tears when you just see, a ray of sunshine on a little ball of water. That's gratitude, and it's not something that you can put a word to.
Exactly. Exactly. All the words that we are saying have to go through the mind for us to decipher, and it's not real. This is not.
Well, when you're describing things, you're already out of the state.
So when this is the medium that we have here, but when we are interactive live in a group situation, then we can say it, and now we sit and we feel it together, and then we actually do it.
Well, let's do the gratitude meditation next time. Now our time is up.
Yeah.
And I'm expressing the gratitude for all of you who came to listen to this.
To co-create, actually, this is always like we do this together. And your insight is very much helpful for us, as it's really precious.
Yeah, and these informations are bouncing off from our heart to yours and back to ours. So it's like this, we somehow lay foundations for that magical realism that we believe in, and we're trying to walk that path. And
to live it, and let others join if they feel like this is a movement for them as well.
And yeah, let's celebrate life, celebrate a beautiful Saturday and Sunday and every other day to come.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you again.
Love.
Beautiful.
Hug.
Thank you.
All right, so everyone's putting their bum holes in the sun this week, okay?
Exactly.
That's right.
On the balconies, yeah. Balcony, so that you start the movement.
Mhm.
With a mask, Lisa. With a mask.
Either way.
Big gloves.
Ciao.
Ciao, ciao.
Peace.